So, Love Lasts Forever by Destroy Lonely actually pleasantly surprised me. Do not take that as me saying it's good or great, but take that as me saying it subverted my expectations because I had kind of high, not high expectations, but I don't want to say that because that's way off. I didn't have high expectations at all, but I kind of had this idea of what it was going to sound like in my head, and it kind of sidestepped that a lot actually. This album is first and foremost a huge sonic upgrade, like sonically upgrade, actually sound upgrade over what was his last project called? If Looks Could Kill, which by the way I didn't like at all. I actually there was times of me enjoying this project, which is more than I can say for the last one. Oh my god, excuse me. But it starts off very strong. Like based off the first like three or four songs, I actually thought I was gonna really like this project and I was gonna be making a completely different video. But I think it's either after Crystal Clear or at the start of Crystal Clear. It kind of falls off for me. Like it kind of dies down. It kind of loses that train that I think it had whenever I first started listening to it. The first problem, this album is way too long. All right, I know I harp about album run times and how long they last. I do think that has a big part to play in an album and how much it can be enjoyed because I feel like a lot of people don't realize how like attention spans work, or not even that, just like for me personally, if you're going to have a really long album, and for Lonely's case, 20 songs, I don't want to hear the same song over and over again. I really don't. Like I want to hear variation. I want to hear you try different things. That way, it's not as boring. Because if it's like it feels like the same song, then it's just going to be boring. You know, I want to hear different attempts at different things. And this album doesn't really have that. It's over an hour. A lot of the songs last way too long. Way too long. A Destroy Lonely song should not be no 4 minutes. However, one fantastic thing that I can say is how much I love the production. I feel like the production on this album is different than a lot of the other production he has, but still in the same blend. You know, it's not really rage beats. There's no real loud 808s. It feels, like I said earlier, more sonically impressive. The mixing sounds better. It sounds like he's actually attempting. It feels like he's trying more, and I appreciate that. It actually feels like he's putting in effort. You know, it doesn't sound like a song he made in his attic. It sounds like a song he made in an actual studio, you know? That kind of comparison, which I greatly appreciate. Also like how he tries to do, like, different things with his voice. It still gets on my nerves. I don't really like Lonely's voice. It's not a big annoyance, and it only affects me sometimes. Like I said, songs way too long. His voice will be fine for the first, like, 2 minutes, and then once I hear about 4 minutes of it, I kind of want to turn it off, you know? But I do like that he messes with his vocal, messes with his inflection a lot on this album. I like that. I think that's cool when an artist is able to do that and make it sound somewhat appealing. Some pretty good flows, you know. It's not that he doesn't have bad flows or anything like that. Pretty good sample use. Every like sample that he uses on a beat, most notably, I don't know if y'all heard about that notification, but I'm sorry if you did. Most notably, the start of the album. I think the sample at the beginning of that song is fantastic. I think it sounds great, and then he comes in and actually does a really good job on that song. I like that song a lot. But there are pretty long streaks of me kind of just being bored, of it kind of just being like nothing music, you know. Don't get me wrong, I do appreciate, this is on the verge of being an okay album, you know. Not being necessarily great, but being like okay, being decent. It's on the verge of being a 5 and a 5.5 out of 10, but it's so close in that it almost makes me, I feel like if I gave it a re-listen, honestly, I do think my rating would go up, but I'm just going based off my first listen. And honestly, I kind of want to do that because I feel like I've made album reviews that like my opinion on them has slightly changed, and other ones that it's kind of majorly changed. I kind of want to do that one day. I think that'd be really cool. But anyway, not necessarily creative lyrics. He never really. I heard a lot of. I'm pretty sure he used that like Michael Jordan throat, like dunk in her throat or something like that. like along that same variation of bars. I mean, the first time I heard it, I was like, oh, that's cool. But the second or third, I was like, okay, you've been said this. I heard this earlier. You're going to dunk in her throat like she's like you're Michael Jordan. I understand. Valid. I mean, go ahead. You do you, dog. But he needs more voices also on his projects. I definitely think that he more features would do him some good instead of just Lil Uzi Vert and just Ken Carson, because there's no real sound variation there. Him and Ken Carson sound like the same artist, except I think Destroy Lonely's better. But and Lil Uzi Vert kind of doesn't. I mean, he's different. He's a different voice for sure, but not much of one. He kind of. There's no real differentiation. There's no difference really. So I do think that would be a lot better, and my fantasy league is going crazy. I'm sorry, guys. The NFL, like, it's the first week of the NFL. Y'all know that. I'm a Steelers fan, by the way. But anyway, it's like I said earlier. It's so close to being all right. And by the way, I try not to include songs that are classified as bonus songs into albums because, that I don't necessarily I don't read, oh, it's a bonus song. I don't think it's necessarily supposed to be part of the overall, like, concept of the album. It's not really overall project. He kind of just threw those in as bonus. But why is there 3 of them, At that point, just, like, yeah, they're only there to boost streams, man. You ain't got to put them on there. And they're all 3 mid. Like, they're not bad, but they're not great songs either. Gets a little more creative, but some choices don't work out at all. Why did I put that note there? I feel like there's something specific happened. I'm trying to remember. He does get a little more creative. I mean, that is true. Like, some different, like, beats, his voice, like, vocal inflections. I kind of talked about that earlier. Overall, I'd give it, like, a 4 out of 10. I mean, that sounds right coming, like, that just sounds right. A 4.5, honestly, a 4.5 out of 10. Because I want to give it a higher rating because I'm not trying to sound like I want to force myself to like it. But this is definitely much more enjoyable than anything he's ever put out. It gave me a pleasant surprise. I do think if I gave it a re-listen, I have a theory I would like it more. I don't know if it's going to have that whole lot of red effect on me where I had to listen to it once and I was like, what? Then I listened to it again and I was like, okay, wait a second. This might actually be good. And then I re-listened to it a third time and I was like, oh, this is actually amazing. But actually, it's not going to do all that to me. But I do think maybe if I gave it another re-listen, it'd be like a 5. But it might just be mid. But you know what? That's okay. Love Lasts Forever is a decent project. It's a 4.5. I would consider that decent. I mean, 4 through 6, in my opinion, is decent. Yeah. Just a decent project. This does kind of have me a little bit excited because if he kind of uses these same elements that are in this project with other ones, we could have a good rapper on our hands, And he kind of does like sound like Cardi, just because that's his rapping style and that's just the way he makes music. This is the most different he has sounded from Playboi Carti. Let me word it that way. It didn't sound like, also, excuse me if you hear that paper, it doesn't sound like an exact copy anymore, or like just he doesn't sound like his son, he sounds like maybe a nephew, maybe a first cousin, you know what I mean? That's kind of a good analogy, I feel like. Just, there's definitely more of a difference now, creatively and, like, sonically, a little bit more of a difference. But I like this project, I really do. No, I don't. I like the road for it. There we go. I said project by accident. My bad. I like the way he's going. I like his trajectory as of right now, because if he drops another album that is also significantly better, we could have a 9 out of 10 Destroy Lonely album on our hands. But I don't know if that all will happen. But anyway, I'm kind of just rambling right now. 4.5 out of 10. If you've made it to the end of this video and you want to show more support, obviously subscribe, comment, do all that good stuff. But if you want to show a little more support, you can go stream my album. The link for it, actually the link for it ain't in the description, but it's out everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And there's videos for the YouTube channel, so all you gotta do is go through there and find it. And it's literally out everywhere. If you look up Fatal K on a streaming service, it will be there. Spotify, Apple Music, Treble, even. But also, If you want to get merch, you can get merch. The link to that is in the description. If you want to join the Patreon, the link is to that is in the description. For as cheap as $1.50 a month, you can get everything from exclusive shoutouts and videos to early access to videos. To private messaging to a free T-shirt every month if you get the highest subscription.